Hi, gang. So check me out. I'm doing an introduction. Yay. I get to talk to Joe today, and Joe has written a book. And let me make sure I get the title right here, Joe. It's Cleft Thoughts, Emotional Musings from the Facial Difference World. Now, Joe's also an empath and has done some channeling and is highly intuitive. But I want to start with the book. What's the book? Tell me.
So first off, thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate it. Hello to everyone watching the interview. I'm glad you're here. And for you watching this interview, this is the book.
Ta-da!
Cleft Thoughts, Emotional Musings from the Facial Difference World. And it is a collection of meditations and essays focusing on the emotional issues men, women, parents, and guardians in the facial difference community around the world go through every day. And facial difference is someone with a cleft lip, cleft palate, Treacher-Collins syndrome. You might have seen the movie Wonder. And in that movie, the main character had Treacher-Collins syndrome, which affects not only the facial look, but it affects other parts of the body as well. I was born with unilateral cleft lip, cleft palate, without an uvula. That got repaired over a few surgeries. And I talk about clearly in the book about shame, fear, resentment, anxiety, love, hope, joy, passion. I go the full human gamut of emotions in the book. Yet it's all geared toward helping those with a facial difference or without the connections to the facial difference community a way to look at their emotional template within themselves. Because every one of us has an emotional template. We are filled with anger, we are filled with love. We are filled with fear, we are filled with joy, we are filled with sensuality, we are filled with nothing. It's a real scope of emotions, feelings, hunches, winks, nudges, as people call it, and this is what Cleft Thoughts represents. This is part of my passion work to the world.
Yeah.
So it's available on Amazon, and I'll put a link. I'll send you a link to where people can get it to as well.
Yeah, or you can go back. I'll put this on Wednesday, so you can just put it in there, and that's great. But there's oh my God, so many questions here, because it's like, on the one hand, I firmly believe that we're all sent into this world with a mission. And so you had this divine gift that you can now go to other people and help them through this. And when did you write the book? How long ago did you write it, and what inspired you to write it?
I wrote the book. I collected the pieces of the book late in 2017, and published it in December 2017.
Okay, so it's a baby. It's young.
It's a baby. So the vision of the book is to have 1 million Cleft Thoughts sold around the world.
Nice. Yeah.
And the bigger vision, which has been a part of my life for over a decade, is to have healing communities, or if you want to call them self-help groups, okay, fine, in major cities around the world, where people can actually get together. And it could be even small towns. I don't care. It could be, the power of seeing other people face to face, literally, within a group setting, is something that I know from my own life has been a powerful opportunity for me to grow and do my own soul work, what I call it.
Right. Because there's power in that, in the vibration in the community.
There's a power in the collective of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the nudge? What was the nudge that started? What was the spark?
Oh, well, I talk about it in the book. I'll be glad to share the quick story. The quick
Do.
story here. So, about 2000, in 2008, I was involved with a number of men and women. It was a co-ed group of people in Houston, Texas, that went through a workshop called ABC, Accelerated Behavioral Change, I believe is the way it's termed. And a wonderful man named Robert Andrews, who is a sports, what's Robert's title? He's a sports,
Caster?
see, no. He's a sports psychologist, he doesn't instruct people in sports.
Uh-huh.
He instructs them, I would say, along their mindset,
There you go.
along
Okay.
their focus. And
Right.
he worked with Olympians, et cetera, like that. Anyway, this is part of his practice, both group and individual. And it was an amazing time,
Yeah.
an amazing thing for me to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the exercises that was part of one exercise that I went through was to dream of something bigger than I've ever dreamed before.
Yeah.
And to do that, to dream of something bigger than I've ever thought of before.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time I was like 42, 43. Yeah, 42. And at this time in my life, I had never really given a lot of like deep thought to doing something in the facial difference community, the cleft lip, cleft palate community around the world.
Mm-hmm.
I was too busy focusing my energies on helping other people that needed my energy to save their worlds, while mine, like Nero in Rome playing the fiddle,
Yeah.
was
right.
So when I did this exercise, the first thing that came to me was something for the cleft lip, cleft palate, community. And I thought, where the hell did that come from? Like, what?
Yeah.
So I kept, okay, there's something here. And I just followed my intuition and started a group that I had hoped to make an organization out of it or something out of it called Heartfelt Smiles. There is a community on Facebook called Heartfelt Smiles that is something I still have. It's like a group I started 10 years ago on Facebook, and it's still there. And,
like one of the originators of groups.
Right. Well, and I didn't know a lot about groups and things like that, so I'm not going to spend a lot of. I don't want to get away from the.
Yeah. So anyway,
the point talking about. So anyway, I started that group, and it's been an off and on, hot cold type thing for me over the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
The book is something that ties a lot of that stuff together.
So it was the nudge from the beginning, from going to that seminar group,
Yeah.
and then it's just kind of started to evolve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. When did you know this is it? I got to write a book.
A book has always been, as a writer, as a content writer and author, that's always been a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And writing for large scale publications as I have, writing is just a part of my being, part of me.
Yeah.
So writing a book about it and putting pieces together about it that I'd written, it was a no-brainer. It was, when am I going to do it?
Yeah. So the nudge was always there. The internal push was always there. And then it was just, all right, let's just do this. Let's get this going.
Yeah, let's get it done. And I did. And so I'm real grateful that it's out there.
Yeah.
And I have more to do on my end to get people's awareness raised.
Yeah. So now I keep getting this silly question. What's your favorite part of the book? Is there a favorite passage or a favorite piece in there that kind of encapsulates it all? For some reason, that question keeps coming to me.
I could read a little bit from it, read a piece of it to you.
Okay.
briefly.
Yeah.
Briefly. So the one thing I'm saying, I think the most important pieces is called the power of emotional presence.
Okay.
And so I'm going to read part of it to you, not the whole thing.
Okay.
I truly believe this is a vital subject to address. Emotional presence to me means being fully alive and aware of each step in your life. Being quote unquote present is something many in the facial difference community may have a hard time doing on a routine basis. Many of us know the all too common struggles involving our health. This can range from surgical procedures to environmental and living situations which bring on too much pressure. Probably, many of us have spent a lot of time, quote unquote, checked out emotionally and reacting from a place of anxiety and fear. It's not unusual, nor is it something worth feeling any shame about at all. American businessman and entrepreneur Gary Vaynerchuk reminds people about the power of self-awareness, how it can help them in business and life. Self-awareness is important too. I do believe having a powerful sense of emotional presence is a positive state to be in as much as possible. Sure, there are going to be human moments where being emotionally present will not happen. It happens to me for sure. Now, you and I do our best to be emotionally present for ourselves, our families, and our friends each day. May we look to others with kind hearts and loving tendencies to help us when we're struggling to get through each day.
Yeah. That really is. I mean, that being present in the moment, not being stuck in I guess, I mean, I a tiny bit how you look. I mean, I'm like sitting here going, you know, my big thing is my hair right now. I'm having this whole issue with my hair. It's hilarious. It's like, and I finally get to the point where it's like, this is just, it's fine. It's going to be okay. And it's like, I can just imagine when you have something like a facial, is the right word, deformity?
Well, facial deformity is
Okay.
something that's picked up in the SEO world. I personally don't like the term deformity
Yeah.
myself.
Difference I like.
Yet
I like
it is
different.
something that is picked up.
Yeah.
So for the SEO-ishness of articles and pieces,
Yeah.
it's used. I find the word deformity is in my heart almost lessening
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
as I am deformed. No, I'm not deformed.
No.
I'm
Because there's no
beautiful.
normal.
I'm wonderful.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so are every man, woman, and child walking planet Gaia right now. That's Earth for those out there who don't know what Gaia is.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's true. And it's so important to have that intrinsic internal value of knowing I am, you know, and that's okay. We're going to go back to my hair. I am okay. My hair is really funky right now or whatever. But that whole idea of just staying present and feeling that love inside is so important. And what a great gift that you've given to people who are going through this.
Well, thank you, Starr. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the thing that really strikes me, and it's come up a couple of times, you've seen it a couple of times, is that shame, blame game. Those things keep you stuck. They keep you in the place of victimhood.
Exactly. And I like the way that author and vulnerability expert and data cruncher extraordinaire Brene Brown puts it about shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt is after you've done something, oh, I feel bad. Shame, the message from shame, after you've done something, might be as simple as dropping a napkin in a fancy restaurant. You start having the shame emotion, and the message is, I am bad.
Yeah.
Two totally different energies.
Right. Right.
And look at how it's played out in business. Look at how it's played out in the Facebook-ish world, of the Twitter world, the LinkedIn world, the Snapchat world, the Instagram world, all the social media platform world you want to. I mean, it's really easy to go shame, guilt, and to move people's emotional levers in that way.
Yeah. It is. It was, and it's, I always say that like those kind of negative thoughts are like dust bunnies. They gather in your head and then they attract more negative thought. And then pretty soon you've got a whole big fluff ball of dust bunnies. And it's like, I mean, you can so easily slip into that. So it's important to notice when those thoughts are coming into your head and to dispute them.
Exactly.
What do you think was your first, how do I put this? When did you first begin to notice those negative thoughts and confront them and say no? Or did you, I mean, were you raised that you were okay, or?
It took a long, long time
Yeah.
until I started doing some soul work on that stuff. I didn't start doing a lot of inner work on me until I was in my 30s.
Yeah. I would say I was probably about 30 as well. And it took a huge crisis in my life to get me to go, oh, wait, the way I'm living is not the way I want to be living.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to work on me instead of blaming other people. I mean, I still blamed other people for a while. I don't blame them so much now, but I did then. And I had this real sense of everybody else is against me, or it's somebody else's fault that I'm like this. And, you know, finally came to the acceptance that there's a gift in every disaster. You just have to look for it.
I've had plenty of disasters. Trust me, I have had plenty of disasters. I'm going through, like, I say that, oh, that was 7 lifetimes ago that happened or whatever. Yet there is a kernel of truth to me in everything like that, because I mean, everybody that sees this can relate to loss.
Yeah.
We've all lost things or people.
Yeah.
We've lost, I've lost cars, I've lost homes or apartments, and it's all my own fault. It's nobody else's but mine.
Yeah.
So take 100% full responsibility for it.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm aware now that having spent so much of my life having a split focus
Mm-hmm.
on myself, but also a parent who was very, very needy.
Mm-hmm.
That really did play a role in my life, and
Wow, I just felt your energy just kind of sag right there.
Yes, because it's something that it's something to talk when I've written about it. I've written about my relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
Before, and it's in another book. I have a collection of articles. Talking and feeling those moments.
Yeah.
I'm speaking with you, and it's just that part of me I can't get back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there are years of my life I can't get back.
Right. Right.
And there are years of my life I don't know what happened. It's like this black hole.
Yeah.
In the part of my life, and I'm going, what was going on when I was 24, 25? I mean, I can logically, like, historically look back,
Yeah.
See where I was living, what I was doing, vocationally. I got that. Yet what was going on in the bigger sense of my own life? It's just like if someone showed me a picture from like the 80s, and said, here you were, what year was this picture made or taken? I wouldn't know.
Wow.
I wouldn't know. I was looking through some old family photos a number of months ago. I came across some photos of my mother and myself, and I could not tell you what year the picture was taken.
Yeah.
For the life of me.
Yeah.
And so I believe that there are imprints made upon my life
Mm-hmm.
that I've had to take and literally tear away whatever is connected to that piece, that a person, that event, and go underneath and find what was behind all of that stuff.
Right.
What was going on in my back, in the shadowishness of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Starr, I believe we all have a shadow and a golden side.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think when it comes to intuitiveness and empaths, that I have an acute sense of emotional energy,
right,
of what's going on in an environment. And an environment for me really has to be somewhat quiet.
right.
I mean, I can't like a continuous amount of loud noise.
Yeah.
Is really upsetting to my body.
Right.
Now I can go to a gym that plays, bump music, if you will, and kind of put my own earbuds in and do my own thing.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna,
But the energy of a place can certainly, you're absorbing that and pulling that into your being. And,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, when did you first discover that you were an empath, or figure out that you were an empath? I mean, we all are. We all feel, we all vibration, but there's some of us who are more sensitive, and suddenly discover, oh, hey, the emotions I'm feeling right now are not mine.
That's a really good question. And I feel like it probably was at a young age for me, like maybe like 9 or 10 years old, because I know there were times that I shielded myself from other people's dysfunction by going into my own room and closing the door and putting the headset onto my stereo and then turning the TV on with the sound off so I wouldn't bother anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to bother anyone. That's kind of like that's an underlying
thing.
Message within me. I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to bother you, Starr. I don't want to bother anybody. I mean,
that was a huge one for me.
Calling me either, quite frankly, but it doesn't stop them from calling me. It's like, I don't want to bother anybody.
Yeah, that was huge for me, and I was the youngest in my family, or one of the youngest kids in my family. So you can imagine. I mean, my house was always filled with chaos. So you can imagine, oh, Starr, just stop, just get out of the way, And it's like, here I am, 53, and now like, oh, I see the imprint that left on my lifetime, and that I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to bug people. I don't, because of the insensitivity of people around me when I was a young child. I mean, like, it comes to me to tell you, it's this story about, I had a brother who died 10 years before I was born. And I was 6 years old, and one day I was just bawling in my room, and I can remember my mom coming in and going, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "I miss Jerry." And it struck her so much that she said, "You stop crying or I'm going to give you something to cry about," and then slammed the door on me. And I remember that. And I remember years later, my mom giving me shit about it. And I'm like, "Mom, do you think I came up with that on my own? Or do you think I picked up on what was going on with you?" And I am the one who cries for my mother. She doesn't cry. So I'm the one who carries her emotions. But I remember, now I can look back and go, holy crap, yeah, I have always been empathic, and have only just learned how to develop that skill.
That's a powerful story right there. It really, really is. And it touches my heart, as a lot of my own worldview, look at the world type things was shaped by my mother.
Oh yeah.
And my grandmother. My father was present but absent.
That was my dad.
When I was about 7 years old, turning 8, my parents almost got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad taking me from my home in Beaumont, Texas to my aunt and uncle's place. I really didn't realize what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
I did not know there was, because he asked me if I was going to go someplace for fun for a while. I thought, okay. My mom comes out crying, going, "Are you sure you want to do this? You sure you want to do this?" I said, "Well, sure. I'm thinking it's just for fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Just a trip.
just go for a little trip."
Yeah.
And then over time it became pretty, it became kind of evident that, well, where's mom? What's going on?
Yeah.
And, during this period of time too, I was sexually abused by a cousin.
Wow. Yeah.
And that happened once in my life,
Yeah.
just once.
Yeah.
I know it happens to many children more than once.
I think it happens to more children than we're aware of.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
It
Because
happens. Yeah.
it's something I know there's a lot of energy around talking about it
Right.
these days.
Yeah.
And whenever someone sees this, past few years, and even 15, 20 years, there's been more, people being brave to step out
Mm-hmm.
and say, this is, I went through this. Some people get really uncomfortable when people do that.
Yeah.
And I think why they get uncomfortable and they tell people to shut up is because they don't want to look at their own shit.
Right.
Bluntly speaking.
Yeah.
They don't want to look at their own stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want to go and do the things that could bring healing to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they did, then the persona, the way that they see the world gets wrecked.
Yeah.
Something that I will share with you, and this is something that really hit me a few years ago, was, what if everything I believed to be the truth was not?
Yeah.
Hello. But if everything I believed to be the truth wasn't, and I had a lot of stuff I believed to be the truth.
Yeah.
The truth.
Right.
And when life hit against like the proverbial brick wall, Starr, I had to really look at some stuff and go, okay, what is the reality of all of this?
Right.
And using what I would say my intuitive skills, my empathic nature.
Yeah.
It started to put pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah.
And also to demystify a lot of lies I've been told.
Right. Right. And that's, I think what a good point in that if you are going to develop your intuitive skills and your life as an empath or, any decision making, you have to be able to investigate every truth that you think you have. You have to do your own investigation. You have to take out every single belief you have and go, is that mine? Or is it true? Because that gets all the crap out of your head. That gets you to the point where you can discern between what's really you and what's not. And that's the first step. That's when you begin to, then you hear the voices in your head and you're like, oh, those are angels. But you discover reading all of that crap and making your own investigation of the truth, understanding that your version of the truth could still be different than somebody else's. Doesn't make their voice or their truth any less valid. It's just what they focus on.
Exactly. And it's something where if I'm comfortable in my own skin, to step out in faith, just take the word faith and just let it roll and I'm gonna let people hear it in there. Yeah. Step out in faith and say, yes, I'm an intuitive and I'm an empath. Mm-hmm. And yes, there have been times where I've channeled. Mm-hmm. And let people go, well, that's not the Joe I know,
Right.
It's not that Joe I just hear about, the writer dude and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yet, I believe that writers, whatever they write about, whether it be business, whether it be email sequences, whatever you do, there's a sense of intuitiveness that it is involved in it. Yes, there's techniques, there's skills to hone, there's ways of learning from others more successful, more advanced than me to learn. And trust me, I'm very much open to learning new things. But there's also got to be a time where the learning kind of has to pause and the implementation begins.
This is the second time I've been told that this week.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the world's biggest procrastinators.
Yeah.
Because my perfectionism will keep me from doing the one thing I need to do.
Right.
And so what I'm learning at this point in my life, because I have to, is to focus on the one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm still, looking over here. Oh, there's a squirrel. There's a butterfly. Oh, nice.
Objects.
It's like, oh, animals. Let me go see. Hello, bear. You want to play? And it's like, shall we play a game? Stuff like that. It's like, no.
Hunker down and focus. Yeah.
So I believe too that intuitives and empaths have an ability to focus that might be the most powerful way to focus in the entire universe.
Interesting.
And that's through the power of meditation, prayer, thought, intention, and divine grace.
Yeah, those are good things. The thing that I think as a writer, because I write blogs and have written for years, just, and there is a moment when you're totally channeling while you're writing. It's those words are just flowing and you're just boom, and it's not coming from you, but it's coming. And it's amazing to go back and look at that and go, wow. Have you had that experience?
When the experience like that for me is when I will sit down to write something that I'm committed myself to write, and I'm just in the flow.
In the flow is exactly the right word.
I'm just in the flow, and I could write 1,300 words without overthinking it.
Right.
But here's the key, though. It's using an experience from my life, then allowing that experience to be the template from which I take the experience and then write about it, instead of looking up, being the reporter type, the journalist type that is in me, that's been part of my life for over 30 years, off and on. That get the data, get the statistics, get the quotes from people and put it together in a story, or have an opinion about something and write about that. It's a different energy.
It is. And the thing that really interests me is I remember, especially there was this time when I was going through my first divorce. I've been divorced twice, but going through my first divorce, and I kept a journal, and I also wrote a blog. And I would read my blog, and years later, I go back and I look at my blog, and it's the greatest wisdom, and it's just wonderful. And then I look at my journal, and it's not. It's like that just complete angst and anger and upset. But then the lessons would come, and they would flow out in my blog. And it was like those moments when I was definitely divinely inspired and definitely seeing the lesson, understanding the lesson, and then yet still going back to my journal and just rolling through all the crap. And I
like the way you talk about journaling, because that's kind of the way that I have journaled for many years. It's like literally, and I had like years of journals collected, and I had to discard them about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I moved. But it was probably good that I did, because I was going to use that as material to write books with.
Yeah.
And, maybe in the tragedy that it was under, the circumstances it was under, dumping it in the desert
was a good thing. I
was a
did the
good
same thing. I actually did the same thing. One night I had like 40 journals. And one night I was sitting outside with my best friend, and we had a bonfire going, and I started going upstairs and grabbing journals and throwing them in the bonfire. And then pretty soon I'm like coming down with armloads of my journals, and I burned every single one of my journals. And I did not know why. It was obsessive. But I finally looked at my friend and I said, I think I burned them because my voice has changed. And I have a new story to tell, and these are old stories. This is old stuff that I need to just let go of and be done with.
The amount of energy, spiritual energy, that I used to hold on to my old stories will keep me from being the best version of myself I can be or want to be, and present myself in that way.
Right, right.
It's amazing that empaths carry emotional energy from so many people, living and dead, or if you believe just transitioned, whatever.
Yeah.
Living and dead transitioned inside of me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And those experiences of going through life and seeing both beauty and destruction, they carry energy too.
Yeah.
And people who are very stuck to their one belief system, it's almost like they have chained themselves to this one thing, and that's it.
I have this vision of somebody being literally chained to this boulder, and it's like going around and around in circles and not being able to move. That's such a good analogy of just being stuck in that place. And it comes to mind that Dr. Phil, I said, we all make our own prisons, but it locks from the inside and we have the key. And it's always about being willing to expand beyond what you think is true.
Yeah, yes. And what I think is true isn't always the truth.
Right. Absolutely.
What I think is right for you is none of my damn business.
Right.
It really isn't.
It's not.
And what you think is right for me is none of your damn business. And isn't it amazing, though? Isn't it amazing how much energy is spent in absolute mindless debating, mindless arguments about anything?
Yeah.
About anything.
Yeah.
Whose mind am I going to change? Am I really going to change by saying, you got to believe what I say, sucker, or else you're going to pay for it?
Exactly.
Whose mind am I going to change?
Right. How do you make
it might be the person that's very weak.
Yeah.
Goes, oh yes, sir, I'll do the thing.
Yeah.
Or you'll have the other people like, who the hell are you saying that? So who you say? What you talking about?
Yeah.
And so it's all comes down, Starr, I truly believe, to this. Intuitives have blessed gifts that I am, filled with. And as an empath, it's my responsibility to not wholly take on the world's problems, but to find where can I send love in that way.
Right. Right.
And that's hard to say. It's hard to say when logic goes, look at this, look at that, look at the other. And it can be any issue. Just put it in this, that, or the other. Pop it in there.
Yeah.
And to send love toward that whatever it is, it's hard to do.
It takes a lot of strength. It really does.
And there are many times I want to go,
yeah,
I'm not sending love to this, that, or the other.
Yeah. I don't like that person. I don't agree with that person. So how do you fix a problem if the first thing you do is you tell a person they're wrong? Because when you're told you're wrong, you immediately go on the defensive. You immediately go, oh no, well, up yours. You know, I'm not wrong. I could be right. So we can't do that. We have to be in that space of love. And it is, you're right. It's hard as an empath, especially when you feel so much and you see the pain that's in other people are in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, well, you could have $1 million, be a millionaire.
I could. I'd be happy to try that.
I'd be happy to try it. Not a problem. Send it to my way out west. Not a problem. It's here.
Yeah.
It's yet even people of great wealth don't always have the happiest lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll gladly be one who's wealthy and upset for a couple of days, and one who's, the other.
I give it a go.
I know what the other thing is like.
We'll see, That's too funny. Wait, I'm listening. I'm like, they're like, how's your life, Joe? What's the greatest thing going on for you right now?
So I just moved back to El Paso, Texas, from the Austin, Texas area after I lived there for 3 years. I moved back out here for a second time because I love the West, I love the mountains. I have transportation issues right now. I don't really want to get into the specifics. I don't have a car right now.
Damn it.
That's it. So I'm using Lyft to get around as I did in the Austin area when I was there for the last few months.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing in my life today is being open to receiving.
Yes.
The good things that are in my life. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not grateful or have gratitude for a roof over my head, food to eat, clothes to wear, air conditioning, a great view of the Franklin Mountains here in El Paso from outside my living room window. I know it's, if I took the camera and showed you my entire apartment, it would look like a minimalist place really right now. The one thing though I've done to enhance the energy of my home is I have about 45 to 50 self-made affirmation cards spread all over the place.
Nice.
That I wrote myself.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to show because most of them are okay to see. Some of them are very personal.
Yeah.
But wherever I go, I can see them.
Yeah.
And it's like putting seeds inside my mind, my soul, my spirit, that this is like, I am powerful. I am loved.
Yes.
I am blessed. I am a great lover. I love money and money loves me. It's like these, and there's some let me say this to you. Do you believe in affirmations and the power of them?
I do, as long as you believe them. You have to have that belief first.
Okay.
You can say affirmations all day long, but if you don't truly believe it, then you've got to really get to the source of that disbelief.
Okay.
But yes, the powerful thoughts and the mantras and having that, looking at it, I have like on my whiteboard, miracles happen. And it's like, I'll walk in my kitchen and see that, I'll smile, and so that raises my energy. So absolutely, the power of positive thought and feeding your brain positive thought all day is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Intuitives, at least for this intuitive, I know that I need a lot of positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
A positive word, a kind word will go a long way.
Right.
With me.
Right.
I don't need someone in my face going all corporate manager style on me.
Yeah.
It just, I desire to work and collaborate with like-minded people. I really, really do. That's my desire, is to work with people to, who knows, maybe this might be the beginning of something that involves a lot of people that are intuitives or empaths that become connected through different, because we kind of been both, we're in the guerrilla army world, that we connected in that way. And who knows, others of like spirit or like mind we might be able to at some point take this collective process and share it with the world.
Absolutely.
On a bigger, grander scale.
It's true. It's true.
And of course, we all can have our own little things, our own things too.
Our own thing. Yeah.
Our own things to share with the world. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it was one of the things that you said that really struck me was open to receiving, because one of the things I talk about in my universal laws class is the law of compensation, which is, you have to give in order to receive. Well, when I did that lesson for people, I turned it around and I'm like, you're givers. I get that you give. You need to be open to receiving, because that, if you don't, then you're blocking the flow of energy, because giving and receiving are the same. And so if you are not willing to receive from somebody, you're robbing them of the good feelings that they get when they give. And it was so funny what a nerve that touched with the people who were going through the course, going, yeah, because we are. I think empaths, intuitives, maybe most people, I don't know, I want to say most people, because most people I know are givers.
Oh, I really can identify with that. It's been very tricky, because I will overgive.
Oh yeah.
To the point where I've come to see some people as vampires.
Right.
Energy vampires.
Absolutely.
And they will only be interested in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And be glad to tell you everything about their life, but very rarely will they ask about how you are doing.
Right.
And they will suck the ever-living life. The soul you were born with will be, it'll be like, absolutely like sucked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they need the energy to keep fueling themselves. Mm-hmm. And then for years and years, I walked around as an empty shell. Yeah. Just pulling the levers and doing this and that and the other. I mean, they're 4 years of my life, 4 to 5 years of my life I can't get back, that were spent dealing with a mother that had mental health issues.
Yeah.
2 major depressive issues and 1 suicide attempt.
Wow.
And I can't get those years back.
Yeah.
I can't get the fact of spending and 50,000 miles on the road in a year back,
Yeah.
especially in times where it should be celebratory
Yeah.
and happy. You know, you reached 20 years old or 30 years old. It's like time to go to Cabo and have a party and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the midst of seeing a parent strapped down to a gurney with a food tube in her nose.
Yeah.
Or learning how to walk again because she mentally paralyzed herself.
Yeah.
Went from 100 pounds to 70 pounds.
Wow. So how did you grow from that? What was the gift in that disaster?
Well, it was to finally have a psychologist that was seeing her at the last hospital she was in Houston.
Yeah.
During that time.
Yeah.
I very clearly remember I was sitting there with him next to her bed, and he said, "Oh, Ms. Rutland, I'm going to help you." But he turned to me, and he put his left hand out, and but I'm going to help you too. And at that point, I felt like someone was there to be my advocate.
Nice.
Truly.
Yeah.
And ever since then, that unwinding process has continued.
Yeah.
And there are professionals that are good people.
Right.
I really want to say that on our interview, Starr, because sometimes people that are empaths and intuitives, they'll sometimes eye professionals like psychologists and psychiatrists, and they'll just blanket say they all suck.
Yeah, no.
And they're worthless, and they're out to get our money, and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And I'm here to say that's not the truth. At least my truth. I'll say that. That's not my experience.
No, I honestly believe there's more good in the world than there is bad. I do. And,
so, yeah.
And so there are people who are sent to help you in that moment. He was there right at that moment and said to you, I'm going to be here for you. And what a difference that made in your life.
Yeah.
That started a trajectory for you that led you here. Right here talking to me.
That led me here to talk to you, that led me, through all the ups and downs and the peaks and the valleys that make up my life. That
yeah.
I would not wish what I've been through on anybody.
Right. Right.
And I'm sure there's some people who wouldn't wish what they've been through on some other people too. Mm-hmm. Maybe, I'll just speak for myself. I wouldn't wish my experience on other people. I've made a lot of my own messes, Starr. I own it. As I said earlier, 200% full responsibility for it.
Absolutely.
So this isn't about me saying it's all parents' fault or environmental fault, or it's all that fault or whatever. Does it play a role though? Yes, it does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I know that you mentioned you've been through 2 divorces.
Yeah.
And as a child of divorce, late in life, there's something that occurs and changes in life when that happens, both from the couple standpoint and to the child standpoint. Now, today I know many couples who co-parent quite well.
Yeah.
And some don't.
Yeah.
But I know more that do and
yeah.
don't. Yeah. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
I know you're the interviewer, I'm the interviewee, but let me ask you a quick question. When was the point in your journey where you could clearly say, I am an intuitive, an empath?
What's really funny is I've told this story a few times in my group is I've always kind of played around with the angel cards and doing things like that for friends. And I had this gradual progression of of going to events and getting readings and learning things. And, you know, I was at one point told by an intuitive, you just know. But I didn't really accept it until I did a thing in December of 2017 where I pulled an angel card every day for 30 days, and I kept pulling, "You are profoundly clairvoyant." And that was when I was like, and that it came to me, it was like, absolutely, you must teach this, which means you must go out in the world and express that you are an intuitive. But I started when I was 33 doing the self-exploration and learning about myself and trying to improve my experience. But there I was 53 before I really figured out, holy crap, I have gifts. And it's the funniest story too, because a friend of mine called me and she's like, "Hey, you know, I need to get your advice on this and stuff." And I'm like, "I just keep seeing a purple crystal heart." And she's like, "Yeah, I've got one." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's cool." And I'm like, she goes, "But it's too big to wear." And I'm like, "Oh, we'll just put it under your pillow." She's like, "It is under my pillow." I'm like, "What?" And I'm just going, "Oh my God." And she and Scott are both going, "You're surprised by this? You've been doing this." I'm like, "Oh." So yeah, not long ago.
How amazing.
I know.
How amazing. And I, you know, there's a part of me that believes that people have a hunger to want to know how to get in touch with their intuitive nature, their spiritual nature.
Absolutely.
There are plenty of ways to get in touch with their spiritual nature that are out there, and people they're A to Z.
Yeah.
It's one thing. That's an amazing story. It's one thing to know it. It's another thing to have people affirm what you've always felt inside.
Yeah.
That's really great stuff.
Yeah. It's been quite the journey. And I so appreciate, we're at the end of our hour and I could talk for longer, but I so appreciate you spending your time with me today.
You're most welcome, Starr. It's been a real treat to talk about this, and I'm interested to see where this goes from here.
Me too.